I began the meeting by making this statement, which I think needs to be made to the nation. America's public enemy number one in the United States is drug abuse. In order to fight and defeat this enemy, it is necessary to wage a new all-out offensive.
The war on drugs, initiated by President Richard Nixon in 1971, was a monumental effort to try to eradicate the use and the trade of illegal drugs. Throughout the years, the war on drugs was characterized by aggressive law enforcement, targeting drug possession, distribution, and production, as extensive efforts to try to disrupt the global drug trade. However, despite its ambitious goals, the war on drugs was marred with concerns about efficacy and some unintended consequences. Concerns about environmental issues and the usefulness of certain government and military actions were constantly being questioned.
During the war on drugs, environmental degradations are shown through three main categories, including chemical irradiation of crops, rampant deforestation, and pollution. To begin with, during that period, the United States used several methods to reduce the illegal drug supplies and availability on the markets. Chemical irradiation of crops was one of the central strategies that was used to solve this problem. This process involved using a chemical mixture that includes the herbicide glyphosate. The herbicide glyphosate is a chemical that kills any plants that has been exposed to it. As a result, this chemical has helped prevent the growing of illegal cocaine. However, studies have shown that this process could potentially put the health of humans and animals in danger by polluting their crops and food resources. According to the Washington Office on Latin America, tens of thousands of families have been pushed into poverty and rely more on illegal drugs as the policy continues.
In addition, the increase in demand for drugs, specifically cocaine, has led to the expansion of coca cultivation in new areas. Coca farms have been deforesting areas in South America to make space for crops. Most coca farmers live in extreme poverty and are forced to participate in this illegal drug trade. They operate in areas where law enforcement presence is limited, allowing them to expand their business rapidly. As these farmers continue to explore new land and deforest the area over time, it has caused significant environmental problems.
Lastly, the war on drugs has contributed to a big part of pollution. The main source of pollution comes from the farmers that use chemical eradication of crops. As farmers spray this chemical around the area, it contaminates the environment. Furthermore, some farmers have illegally disposed chemicals that are used to control these crops into waterways or on land, which has caused the environment to be polluted. The use of chemicals has made a huge impact on both the environment and human health.
War on drugs influenced multiple long-term implications for global drug policy. To begin with, militarization and enforcement-focused policies were created. For example, in Latin America such as Colombia, Mexico, and Brazil, the militarization of drug policies had led to more violence. Efforts to destroy drug production had resulted in armed conflicts between government forces and drug cartels, which led to thousands of deaths.
Hey, they're doing drugs! Cartel! Cartel! It hurts! I'm gonna die! Drugs! It's so dangerous!
But what made it worse was the criminalization that acts as a barrier for individuals who are struggling with substances. The fear of arrest led to people being discouraged to seek the help that they need, which led to situations where drug use and overdose keep happening. Mass incarceration also happened because of the policies. The enforcement of drug laws has disproportionately affected minority communities. In the U.S., African Americans and Hispanics are more likely to be arrested, convicted, and serve longer sentences for drug offenses compared to their white counterparts, despite similar rates of drug use across these groups. This contributes in the cycle of poverty and social marginalization.
The police suspect me from buying drugs from my homie Ricky, but I was only buying the toy.
Hey, amigo, they're racist. They think Mexican sell weed and black people in store wearing hood, stealing. This is just racism. We don't do drugs. Drugs bad. Nacho, amigo, don't do drugs.
Agriculture and rural development was an area that was affected by war on drugs. In countries like Colombia, Peru, and Bolivia, the cocoa leaf from which cocaine is derived has been a major cash crop. The eradication campaigns and chemical spraying under the war on drugs have disrupted traditional agriculture, affecting the livelihood of farmers. Many of these farmers, lacking viable economic alternatives, depend heavily on cocoa cultivation despite its illegality.
Hi, I'm here with the BAC News Channel. Can I interview you?
Okay.
So, sir, why did you go from growing corn to now growing cocoa plants for drug dealers?
Because you make more money. Like before, obviously, corn is good, but then usually the more illegal stuff makes you more money. It just forces us all farmers to start planting cocoa plants. People just like coke. So now, I'll show you my farm. Look.
That's an amazing yield, sir.
Yeah, I know. I make 500 million from that. Because people are stupid and pay for drugs. Also, the drug cartels have amassed enough wealth and power to challenge the state's authority directly. They engage in corrupt practices by bribing law enforcement, judiciary, and political figures, undermining the effectiveness and credibility of government institutions. This corruption erodes public trust and hampers the government's ability to enforce laws and implement policies effectively. Would this be enough? Would this be enough? So you'll put off the charges, right? Thank you.
It caused countries to create policies and change their focus on resources to deal with these crimes. Governments in drug-producing countries often allocate a significant portion of their budgets to fighting drug trafficking and related violence. This diverts resources from essential public services like education, health, and infrastructure development, which are crucial for long-term economic growth.
This underinvestment can have long-term detrimental effects on human capital development and economic competitiveness. For example, rural areas in drug-producing countries are often the most affected by drug cultivation and trafficking. So in those areas, you might see less investments in schools and healthcare facilities.
The war on drugs has had a huge impact on our society, influencing laws and what people think about drugs. It started as a way to reduce drug use and stop drug trafficking, but it ended up causing a lot of people to be imprisoned and creating unfair treatment based on race within the justice system. Even though policies and laws are in place to prevent the use and abuse of drugs, it is apparent that none were truly effective, as drug use is still on the rise. Today, as we see a move towards making drugs less illegal and focusing more on treatment rather than punishment, we can still see that the effects of the war on drugs continue to shape how we handle drug-related issues in our communities.